Ella. Prologue. You have an immortal soul, and it is searching to know pure love without conditions. Open your heart and jump into the adventure. Adam. Dogs like to eat food, any food. They eat on their instinct, without waiting. Stray dogs sometimes eat scraps from dustbins. When dogs are pets, they eat even more. Food pellets, chunks, human food from the table, anything. Adam was a pet. Every day when the sun rose, he was awakened by some inner force. His stomach was growling. First he trotted down the stairs to sit, wriggling restlessly on the scratchy mat, staring at the golden rectangle in the door, waiting for the postman. The gate squeaked and footsteps pattered. Unable to contain it any longer, big excited barks echoed down the corridor as the letterbox swung open, envelopes and newspapers crunching to the floor. Adam shot backwards and forwards in delight. Time to eat. Woofing with all his might, the shuffle of slippers started upstairs. Adam knew soon he would have a bowl full of delicious food. He trampled over the envelopes and papers. A dog's life. Each day was the same. Adam would bark at the post, then impatiently run circles around the food, cascading into his giant bowl. Crumbs everywhere, lapping up the water before resting a while. Almost immediately back up, buzzing with energy, frolicking in the garden or park, yapping at the midday sun. Then more food. Oh, the joys of being a dog. More rest, more running, more food, cuddles, a brush or a wash, a nap. Sometimes, on his walks, he played chase with the other pet dogs, all whizzing around each other, barking loudly and causing their owners to join in, laughing apologetically with leads in hand. Pet dogs don't have much to talk about. Perhaps they would bark about a new ball. Any short conversations would simply comparisons of the day's food, who had a new brand of biscuit, or hit the jackpot and had been fed from the table. If there was food being offered in the park, every dog would be there in a flash, pushing and shoving, puffing and panting, even if they'd only just been fed at home. Their lives drifted by, eating, playing, eating, sleeping. The newspaper. One morning, as the letterbox rattled, Adam, barking with blind glee, felt his eyes drawn to the newspaper that he would usually ignore. He was pulled towards it, staring in silence. On the front page was a photo of a mountain. Adam felt strange. Something unfamiliar pulled from his chest, not his instinctive stomach. His bark stopped as he cautiously approached the paper. Without any real idea of what he was doing, Adam found himself carefully licking the spine until the page came loose. He took it into the garden, his chest still full of a strange and swirling wonder. For weeks, Adam attempted normality, but something had changed. He felt different in doing his rituals. When he played and talked with the other dogs, it didn't feel natural. It felt forced, like they didn't understand him. When he showed them the mountain, they would turn their heads to the side, staring blankly. Adam felt foolish and frustrated. At night, he would dream about the snow-peaked mountains. He was curious that when he did, his heartbeat grew quicker with excitement. The sun. More days went by, and the sun had seen a change in Adam, and asked him about the difference he felt inside. "Why don't you play in my sunbeams as much these days? Are you getting old?" "On the contrary," said Adam, "I am dreaming of you every night. But in my dreams, you rise and set in the mountains. Your light is shattered by the clouds and the peaks. What I feel inside is stillness and peace." "Maybe I am getting old," he worried aloud. The sun shone brighter, and 2 butterflies danced by his nose. Adam closed his eyes. All he saw in the void of his mind was mountains, crystal clear. The sun whispered to Adam to follow the butterflies. "I'm just a dog. If I leave, life would be uncertain. I might not make it." "The night is uncertain, but you just have to trust that I will shine again," smiled the sun. The wind carried the butterflies further away. "It's just a dream," grumbled Adam. "I am being foolish to follow a dream. I'll lose everything I have here, everything I live for." The sun stopped silently in the sky. Adam frowned. No more advice. silence. The never-ending dream. For many days, Adam tried his best to live with the same enthusiasm and energy, but something just wasn't right. It all felt forced. Every day, Adam would collapse into his basket, exhausted. I'm so selfish, he thought to himself. I have everything a dog could ever want, but I'm not satisfied. He closed his eyes, trying not to think about the mountains. Weeks went by, and Adam found himself absent-mindedly planning his escape. He felt empty. What other dogs have such ridiculous ideas and feelings? He thought to himself. I need to forget it all and be a normal dog. He slowly trotted outside to lie on the grass. Stepping over a well-chewed bone, he folded himself into a ball and looked up at the clouds. The sun was hiding. The clouds' edges were silver, and the sunbeams blazed through the gaps, reaching into forever. You can stay there, grumbled Adam. As if to mock him, the wind blew the clouds apart, and Adam squeezed his eyes shut as the whole sky filled with light. Still here, smiled the sun. I am just not thinking about it anymore, Adam replied. Deep inside, Adam wished the sun would just say the right thing or send a sign, reassuring enough to fill him with the courage to begin his adventure. No words from anyone or anything else can truly make a decision for you, the sun said, so radiant. Adam closed his eyes tight. His head started to spin. When he opened his eyes, 2 butterflies danced in front of his nose. Adam took a deep breath and followed them. The escape. Butterflies before him, the sun above, stroking his back, his tail wagging behind with excitement and newfound freedom. He was pleased with his brave decision. It felt right. He wanted to jump with pride. He passed some dogs, chasing their tails, thoughtlessly gobbling food. They didn't notice him. He understood them, remembering a time when he too had done the same. At the edge of a small forest, the butterflies flew away. Adam sighed impatiently. He couldn't fly. How quickly a dog's mood can change when loneliness and darkness arrive. He no longer felt pity or understanding for the other dogs. He envied their lives. What have I done? He lamented, slumping on a nearby rock. He watched the stars blinking in the darkness, cursing his quest. I was too greedy. The other dogs are grateful for what they have. They should pity me, lost, alone, hungry and scared at the edge of the forest. The moon. The moon caught his eye. The soft glow was a small comfort to Adam as tears came. The moonbeams washed over the forest, catching trees in a half-light twinkle. Their branches gently swayed. With each calm bough of the trees, a figure was illuminated. Adam saw a black shadow with a serene, metallic outline. Deep in his soul, something stirred, as subtle as the evening breeze. The next bend in the trees lit the figure stretching on all fours. Adam's heart leapt. Another dog. Instinct took hold of his whole being. He started running, overjoyed, bounding over bracken and pine cones, heart beating fast. A companion, safety, he thought. A twig snapped. The silvery silhouette went rigid, its long neck hairs standing on end. Adam froze just as quickly, skidding to a halt. The instincts changed. He was overtaken with another feeling, one he had never had before. His body was preparing to fight, to attack. Fear and strength. Eyes growing so wide he could see everything, hear every sound. His shoulders arched, and a deep growl he didn't recognize started in his throat. He wondered if it was truly coming from him or just his imagination. Snarling and frozen, he became slowly more confused as the moon-drenched dog softened and started licking its fur. Why isn't it afraid? Adam's question made his muscles relax. His curiosity returned. Slowly, he began creeping towards the calm figure, slinking behind the trees with the softest footsteps. He didn't want to scare it again. As Adam grew nearer, a fleeting thought shot through the dark of his mind. What was he doing? He couldn't defend himself if it turned out to be a jackal or a wild dog. He'd be ripped to pieces. His eyes rolled. All his life he had played with chew toys when he should have been learning how to fight like a warrior wolf. Now he was probably going to die. This thought stopped Adam in his tracks. He turned to leave, but it was as if a force were pushing him closer. He couldn't go back. The night wind whistled through the trees like racing ghosts. We are with you. Do not have fear. Timelessness. Suddenly, one tree stood between Adam and the figure. A scent was carried on the back of the wind. He had never experienced such a smell, but it felt like he had known it forever. Adam's eyelids grew heavy. It was so familiar, like a daydream. The moonshine dog turned. Their eyes locked. Adam felt light explode across the sky. His heart had become the thunder contained in every electric cloud. His body was lightning. A screaming shiver started at the top of his head. Adam shook himself as if trying to wake from a dream. Transfixed, he continued walking forwards, eyes shining like treasure. All fear had dissolved. This dog, glowing like an angel, was emanating goodness and freedom. He felt strangely intimidated by this translucent creature. Ella. A wild female, alone, in the forest and not afraid. How could this be true? A strong, unknown force caused his eyelids to lift from the floor and catch her face again. She smiled like the sun had smiled on the day he had revealed his dream, like she could see something deeper behind his eyes. Who are you? Thought Adam. Why are you here? I am Ella, a voice in his head replied. Adam's heart beat even faster. No barks exchanged. She could read his mind, and he hers. I have been traveling wild for a long time, looking for the mountains. I know that they're close. I can feel it. How can this be? Adam was astonished. His fortune was too good to be true. You can follow me. Ella's thoughts appeared inside his mind. A lone female. I have never heard stories of such a dog, thought Adam, nervous about the idea, doubting it could be real. This contemplation was too long for Ella, who had begun walking away down the moon-streaked path without a second thought. Adam wondered if she had felt what he felt when their eyes met. Her strength was magnetic. He had to follow. Always a new dawn. The sun threw its light across the valley. It shattered into thousands of pieces, casting long, warm shadows. Adam's eyes flickered and he woke. Ella was not there, but he noticed her in the distance, splashing in the stream. Water droplets glistened as she shook it from her coat. He was watching the most beautiful dance. Joy poured from her as the sun revealed scratches, scars, and patches of missing fur. Wandering together. Each day that went by, Adam grew more fascinated by Ella. She could find food quickly, locate good shelters. She knew if the weather would change and if there was danger. Adam understood her to be a gift from the sun. In the nights, Ella taught Adam many lessons and told him stories of adventures and about the world she had explored. Adam felt like his head was growing bigger, eyes wider, like diamonds. He hung on every word of the stories, like they were precious gemstones. The life before. One night, Adam asked Ella about what she was doing before her quest to the mountains. Ella smiled. As a puppy, she was one of many. After being together for many months, the brothers and sisters were all separated. She was sent alone to an old farmhouse. Her new owner was unkind, often beating her. Ella found companionship in the other animals on the farm. Although none of them were dogs, she loved their uniqueness and the different ideas they had. A goat had told her of the mountains, the land stretching up beyond the clouds. As soon as she had imagined it, there was no going back. The birds grew curious and wanted to help. They flew back and forth to the mountains, bringing news of what they had seen. She made a map in the barn, and the animals helped her with the perfect escape. Coincidence. Adam was overwhelmed. Their stories of escape were so different, but they had met in the same forest at the same time. It was beyond a coincidence. Ella smiled again as she curled up to sleep. Adam felt it too. They were close to the mountains. Where would he have been if it had not been for their meeting? What fortune! He too smiled, curling up to sleep. Natural happiness. The next day, they were climbing the tracks, jumping from rock to rock, tree to tree, just as the goat had said. Adam was getting tired and thinking about reaching the top. They had been climbing so long, only seeing trees, stones, and mud. He wanted to summit so they could look out across the other peaks. "Look how beautiful these trees are," Ella's voice boomed in his head, blowing all the thoughts away. He watched her, frolicking with delight. It was eternal love for everything. She touched the trees with her back and stretched her paws up high, chasing ants in circles round the trunk. Thoughts of the mountain peaks had vanished, and Adam felt he could watch her happiness forever. They climbed a little more. The sun began to slide down a watercolor sky. Bruised and battered, Adam followed Ella through more spiky shrubs. Thorns scratched her body, but she still turned to check he was okay. Through the gaps in the trees, the sky was orange with blood-stained streaks. The ground was evening out. The muscles in their legs relaxed. Emerging from the last row of trees, Adam almost fell to the floor. The peak. The sky stretched further than he had ever thought possible. Rocky peaks, green, brown, grey and white, spanned further than his peripheral. He had to turn his head to take it all in. Layers upon layers of mountains. Adam could not have believed such beauty existed in the world. The feeling of thunder in his chest returned. The lightning was in his head. He felt like if he jumped up, he would never land again. Tears made small holes in the dirt where he stood. Ella was far at the very edge of the rock, unmoving, unafraid, sitting tall and breathing slow. Adam didn't dare join her, not for fear of falling. A new sensation had come. He stayed back, just watching, imagining he was there with her, touching the clouds. He knew now the true reason he had been called to the mountains, to find the one that was staring out at them in bliss. Life goes on. When night finally fell and the last red brushstrokes were erased by the darkness, Ella walked from the mountain's edge to sit softly by Adam. The moon danced across the sky, and they stayed all night with eyes ablaze, silently counting the infinite stars. Years passed of them surviving in the mountains. They moved from cave to cave, tree to tree. Leaves fell and grew, and a few people began to walk up and down, searching for something beyond and bigger than themselves. An old man with the same soul that longed for the mountains finally constructed a small bamboo hut, selling water and snacks to the few climbers that went by each week. Adam and Ella would stay there to keep the old man company. They were warm, dry, and happy. True love. One day, two girls who also held the mountains in their souls were caught in a rainstorm. They took shelter in the bamboo hut, watching the downpour. Ella slipped through the door, shaking off water droplets, followed by Adam. They sat beside the two girls. They dropped their crackers on the floor to share. Surprised, they laughed as Ella ate them quickly with gratitude. Adam sat patiently, not competing for the food. Perhaps he's not hungry, they giggled to each other, confused. When the sun came back, the girls stood to leave, waving at the old man and patting the dogs. One offered Adam a cracker. He ate it quickly, surprising both the girls. He had been hungry all along, but hadn't taken food from the other dog. It went against all natural instincts. Simplicity. To Adam it was simple. His dreams had all come true. His desires for food and play had long been left behind. His decision to risk his normal life of safety and comfort had brought him more than he could ever imagine. More than mountains and sunrises. He had become a wise dog from a journey that wasn't his own. He knew in the deepest place in his heart he owed his life to Ella. Adam continued to show his appreciation in any way he could, and every day Ella would remind him of his own bravery to leave the comfort he knew, to trust in the teachings and stories from sons and strangers, and to be an adventurer. Their two lives, although opposite, had led them here. To live without needing, to love without expectations, to give without taking, to hear without speaking, to find joy and lessons in all things, and to dance in the darkness by the eternally graceful light of the moon.